Personal business is personal business, but it's ultimately it comes down to it's a chief's wife and a badged member of the state. So there's some other intricacies that go on that make it not just personal business. Um, so,
Governor, I'm honestly confused here.
well, from this is what Barker told me was that he said that he and you have been having an affair for a couple weeks.
What?
That
Yes.
is what he told me.
And this is what he stated that she told him.
Just so we're all on the same page here. Like I don't want to lecture you. You're a grown man. Like I said, personal
Yes.
business is personal business. But we're just got to try to make sure that there's no other issues beyond that.
I believe it or not, Governor, I'm at a loss for words at the current moment. Do y'all have time to hear a story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This has been years ago. I was still a kid. I was early 20s. I used to be in the employment of the sheriff of Santa Fe, New Mexico, Sheriff Cornwall. I was one of his deputies. He helped me out when my father was killed on a cattle drive. Some of his deputies found me out in the deserts of New Mexico and took me up to Santa Fe. He helped me get my father home to El Paso. And because of what had happened before the deputies found me, I had shot and killed a man. And come to find out, that man was a very notorious cattle thief. Been terrorizing the area for quite some time. So Sheriff Cornwall told me that once I got my father buried and tended to his business, that if I so wanted, I could come back to Santa Fe and work as one of his deputies. He'd teach me how to be a lawman. So I got Dad home and tended to and made sure my mom and my brother were cared for. And I headed back towards Santa Fe. It's a good 10 days ride from El Paso. Along the way, I took the opportunity to check the bounty boards and see if there was anybody else I could find along the way. And when I got back to Santa Fe, I took the sheriff up on his job offer. I worked for him for a couple of years. I was just 18 when I started. Well, we cleaned up Santa Fe quite nice. It was quite a rough town when I got there, but they quickly learned that we were not about to tolerate their foolishness anymore. So we did our job, put people in jail that need to be there, and, well, we tended to the real bad ones in other fashions. Sheriff knew that I was getting bored because it wasn't near the excitement that it was when I started for him. And I actually went to turn in my badge and get ready to move on down the road, find somewhere else that would need me. So when I went to talk to him, he said there was one more thing he needed me to do. He had gotten word that a slave train was going to be coming through the county. And he said that the man man on that train that really needed to be dealt with. Couldn't be dealt with in official capacity. Because this gentleman was the brother of the state governor. The sheriff told me that if we failed, he couldn't save us from whatever may lie if we didn't die out there. Sheriff kind of became a father figure to me, so as a good son, did what I was asked to. So we gathered up what we needed. We rode out of town, sat near the tracks waiting for the train to come through. It wasn't supposed to come through till real late at night. Supposed to keep it from drawing attention. Well, we found that train. We set off after it and we boarded it. We were all wearing black. I was actually wearing my dad's trench coat. That and this old Navy's about the only thing I really have left of Daddy's. We moved from the rear of the train. We cleared the cars. He had quite a few boys working that train, but most of them were drunk and half asleep at this time, so it was pretty easy to stay quiet. As we moved up the train, we grabbed all the keys we could. I moved into one of the center cars. It was a hell of a nice train car, to be honest with you, Governor. When I kicked through that door, there was a rather heavy-set man standing in there. There was a young native girl behind him. I pulled this old Navy and I killed him. Put a bullet right through his mouth. Because he was using that little native girl as a shield. She was scared. She didn't speak a lick of English. I wrapped her up in a blanket that was there, and I told her to stay quiet and stay still, and we'd be back. We moved up and we got the train stopped. We were still probably about 10 miles out of Santa Fe. Once we subdued the engineer, we got busy unlocking all the chains and the cells and everything else we could find on that damn train. And once we had everybody freed, we rode as hard and fast as we could to get the hell out of there. For everybody that chose to go with us, we tried to return them to their people, because most of them were natives. There was Comanche and several Apaches. There was even some Cherokee in there. It was actually through one of the Apache that we found out this little girl belonged to a tribe up here. So as we made our way across the damn states, it seemed like forever. She started learning English, and she would never go around anybody else except for me. And an old Apache woman that kind of tried to be a mother figure to her. She was the last one, because her tribe was probably the farthest of all. And we got her back. When we rode onto their lands, we were met by some rather upset warriors, because we had rode onto their land. And There's some very not nice words being exchanged. She spoke, and she told those warriors who she was. Come to find out, she was daughter to the chief of their tribe. And, you know, I won't lie, I'd grown quite fond of the young lady. She was real sweet and nice, and even when we got back into their camp, she still wouldn't even really go to her own people. But we walked over to our father's teepee, and he met us, and through a lot of very patient translating, he expressed his gratitude that we had returned his daughter. And he welcomed us to stay and to rest for a couple of days. And we graciously accepted as we retired. So we enjoyed their wonderful hospitality, got to see some of their native dances and customs. And as we were getting ready to pack our things to head off and see where the road would take us, she stopped me, and she didn't want me to go. But for an outsider to remain on their land, they had to be married into the tribe. Being young and foolish like I was, I decided that I would at least ask her father. Initially, he was confused, a little upset, but when he stopped and thought about it, he understood why I asked. Her brother was even more upset with me at the time, but his father calmed him down. And the chief told us that she had already been promised to another man, and it was critical that they be able to ensure that marriage, because of the simple fact it maintained peace between their tribe and the next tribe over. And out of sheer respect, I thanked the man for at least being kind and listening to me. And I asked his permission to ride out of his lands. That was, 20 years before I became the sheriff of West Elizabeth. It's been quite some time. And I didn't communicate or even know whatever happened to her until I rode into Blackfoot land with Natal. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say it. But I recognized her. And it was hard. Because I saw the look on her face because she didn't have her mask on. But I recognized Ski from all those years earlier. Governor, I swear before you and the Chief Justice, I have had no affair with her. She asked if she could ride with me and my rangers to do her rounds. And I allowed her to ride ride with us the same I would any doctor if they asked. Any person that asked. They needed safety to get somewhere.
I guess the biggest thing that would kind of be, I suppose, a red flag to me about that would be, why would she tell Mateo that then, if that has not been happening?
Honestly, Governor, I don't know. With the exception of one ride, we were out by Cougar's Crossing, and he needed a ride back to Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
Said she was going to the doctor's office there. So naturally I said, well, I can get you back to the office before I go to get some sleep. Other than that, Governor, we've never been alone. We had one conversation under a street lamp on Valentine, standing outside the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And all she really told me was that she had told Natalia, but she didn't go into detail. I didn't figure she was much happy with my response, because I knew why her father had made the choices he had made, and I didn't want to see a war come about, because that peace treaty fell apart. Seen too many people die in those native wars.
Let me do a little bit of processing here, and I'll give you a response here in a couple minutes.
Yes, sir. I think I need to get a little air for just a moment.